My dad thinks everything is a conspiracy. He was like, yeah, I saw on the internet some aliens crashed in Minnesota. Only one survived. Now they're trying to communicate with it, find out their secrets, what they want, why they're here. I was like, Dad, Somalians, they're Somalians.
John Combest, how did it get to be the 24th of February already? How's that possible?
I think it's systemic racism. I think the moon and the planets are aligned literally to shorten Black History Month as much as possible. No one talks about planetary systemic racism.
You know, I've never heard anybody complain about that, but that's a legitimate comment. Why would you pick the shortest month that'd be Black History Month? Why wouldn't you pick a month that at least has 30 days, more appropriately, 31 days? We get a full month, not a shortened month, right? What's with that?
Yeah, I think it's just the white male patriarchy, Brad, and I'm glad that we can shine a light on that as two champions of diversity here.
You know what that calls for, don't you?
What's that, Brad?
It tears me down because I think about as a child when we had fire drills and tornado drills and they taught us, crouch down and cover your head. And I remember we would have these routine drills and I really believed that a tornado was going to come.
Yeah, see, that's the whole problem with that. Okay, John, that is John.
I think you need more Cori Bush in your life because, remember when she told the story of her doing faith healing?
Yes.
So, Brad, what if she came up to your gnarled tendons in your leg and did a little touchy-touchy?
I think I need Creflo Dollar for that. And speaking of Dollar, we'll have something in the B block about that. Or I could get Pam Grier, who will tell the story about when she was a young girl in Dayton, Ohio. Her mom made her close her eyes because of the fact that all the black people were hanging from trees because of all the lynchings. And once again, this is Pam Grier, who I believe didn't I say she was born in like 49 or something like that?
And line that up with some lynchings.
Right.
It doesn't line up. I think she saw pinatas. I think she was walking around. What's the day that the Mexicans take a day off from cutting grass?
John, what's amazing to me, I hear these interviews and I hear people say unbelievable things and the interviewer does not challenge them. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And although you'll see in story number 3, we had a fantastic interviewer talk to someone who always says interesting things, and he gave a little bit of back and forth, Brad. We'll talk about that in story number 3.
That is John Combest. Every single day of his life, he puts together this incredible list of all the important things you should know going on in the state of Missouri. Now, he has dozens of things, sometimes 40, 50 different things. A lot of times it's too much. It's sort of like information overload. So what we do as a public service to the community, we come together every morning, Monday through Friday, and we do John's Top 3. And we have this celebrity who we pull out of his grave in Norway, and he comes in to say,
I'm Casey Kasem.
And then he counts them down with,
in third place.
You talked about interviewers doing important follow-up, and that's exactly what St. Louis Public Radio's Jason Rosenbaum did with a story we've discussed 4, maybe 5 times on this show. It's the concept of recurring political donations. The idea that a campaign, pardon me, would hit up a list, an email list, and say, hey, we want you to contribute to our campaign. Click here. And then that campaign would get a recurring donation from that donor time and again. Now, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper and the Missouri Independent blog have highlighted the fact that Bill Eigel has received a large sum of contributions through this manner. That has led to a gentleman from South St. Louis County named Jim Murphy, a Republican, to put forth legislation that says, whoa, we got to stop this recurring contribution thing. It's just not right. And to be fair, Jim Murphy's legislation doesn't even mention Bill Eigel by name. So being an outstanding reporter, probably the best political reporter in the state of Missouri, for my money, Jason Rosenbaum sat down with Bill Eigel and said, Bill, what is the story with this? Are you going to keep doing this? And Bill gave his side of the story. Bill says, by the way, you can find this on St. Louis Public Radio today. This is part of the Politically Speaking Hour on St. Louis on the Air. That's Rosenbaum's deal, you know? Eigel says, look, in this era, you have a lot of candidates that go out and just get big, giant checks from one donor. And we all know that there's usually strings attached. Eigel says, I wanted to build a small, conservative, grassroots network of small donors. And by allowing my donors to give a relatively small dollar amount that fits their budget every month, it allows us to accept contributions from those folks. We don't have to rely on giant checks from mega millionaires to fund our campaign. No, we want small dollar contributions from people who are really invested in the conservative movement. Now, for his part, he says, Bill Eigel says, look, I'm aware of what Jim Murphy's legislation is, and it's right now just another Republican who's mad that I might just get elected St. Charles County executive. I'm glad that Jason Rosenbaum went out and sat down with Bill Eigel. Now, what I don't know is Jason could have been pursuing this for a while. As far as I know, Brad, I hadn't seen a significant explanation anywhere from Bill Eigel about why he was pursuing these small dollar donations and why he was not returning them. And then before we discuss it, Brad, Jason notes that Eigel says that his campaign has offered refunds to anyone who felt they'd made the donation in error. He wants to be on the up and up about it. And he also added, he being Eigel, also added that a company called WinRed, that's kind of like our Republican answer to the Democrats' Act Blue. Eigel says WinRed allows people to donate and they have strict guidelines and possesses mechanisms that shut down bad actors. Eigel said that hasn't happened with committees helping his campaign. So in other words, Eigel says we're following the best protocols, the best management practices. And if people want their money back, we'll give them their money back. Otherwise, this is the way that you need to go to accept small dollar contributions and not be bought off by big dollar contributors.
John, was that yesterday? I missed that. What was that? I thought Jason Rosenbaum's show was on Fridays. No?
I'm guessing this might be a preview. I'm guessing it might be a preview of this week's. Or Jason also notes that his show runs on Fridays, and then he usually posts audio of it on Monday.
Interesting. Okay. We ready for number 2?
Absolutely. Do you have any commentary on Bill Eigel there, Brad?
I don't even. Why would I have anything to say about Bill Eigel?
I know. Boy, that would be a surprise. Okay, let's get to story number 2 because it kind of involves you.
Up a notch to number 2.
And when I say it kind of involves you, it involves people that are quite excited about vehicles and have to deal with vehicle registration, which is all of us. But here's how it doesn't involve a Brad Hildebrand. It mostly is aimed at people that drive functional, stable, reasonable cars. John, what do you mean? A headline from Lily Halloran. She's the intern at St. Louis Public Radio. Some Missouri motorists may soon be able to register their cars for 5 years. I'm going to give you the most fascinating nugget from Lily's story, which is that this proposal passed the Missouri House 143 to nothing. And to preempt your question, Brad, I'm sure some members were absent. There are 163 members of the legislature. No one voted against this. The House voted 143-0 to pass legislation that would add the option for people with cars less than 6 years old to register their vehicles 5 years at a time. Currently, state law requires motorists to renew their registration every 1 or 2 years. This bill was sponsored by a gentleman named Bob Bromley from down in Carl Junction. That's down around Joplin. That's like Jasper County area. Bob says, I came up here with the intention of making life simpler for my constituents. That's what this bill does. It saves people trips to the license office. Now, the legislation would require people who choose the 5-year option to pay $45 for their tags. Currently, Missourians pay $9 for a 1-year registration and $18 for 2 years. So I think this makes a lot of sense, Brad. I know you take the initiative to drive all the way to Jeff City to get fantastic concierge service from the Missouri Department of Revenue. But for most normal, functional people, we just don't like going to the DMV and getting our plates. Why don't we do it every 5 years?
John, this was my number 2. Actually, this was my number 3. Maybe I'll talk about it. Maybe I'll still do it as my number 3. I think this is horrible. I think this is terrible.
Okay, and why is that?
It's discriminatory.
Against people that don't, okay. I mean, because against people that buy old cars, right?
Right. Well, if you see, for example, here's a perfect example. Let's say you buy a new car, and let's say you take care of it, and you just keep it in excellent shape, and you keep it for 10 years. So after 5 years, you've got to go every year. You get the odd, even, goofy thing, and you got to get your renewals and stuff like that. Okay, so why isn't it? See, here's the interesting thing for me. There are people, I know people that have 2, 3, 4-year-old cars that have hundreds of thousands of miles on them. They're professional couriers. They drive for a living.
Yep. And there are people that have cars that have been around for a long time. Okay, so Brad, can you answer this question directly?
Yes.
You don't like it, and it's unfair. If I have a car that's less than 6 years old, let's say, and I get this 5-year registration, how does that hurt you?
Well, John, let me throw it back at you. I don't know how to answer you.
So the answer is it doesn't.
No,
right?
it doesn't.
And you don't answer a question with a question,
not
Brad.
fair,
We're not having
John.
a relationship argument.
John, okay, how old's your house you live in? How old's the house you live in?
Pretty old.
Okay, 40 years old?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, let's say that St. Louis County comes out with an ordinance that says, okay, if your house is over 40 years old.
I would be happy for the people that have newer houses. And then I would go to the council and I would say, hey, I'm not an envious, jealous old codger. I'm going to be happy for the people that get the current exemption. And while I applaud that decision, I would like for you to extend it to older cars. Another way to look at life, Brad, instead of being a glass half empty old codger, would be say, wow, this is a great first step. And next year, I hope my legislators pass a bill that says we should have 5-year registrations for old, dilapidated cars that run over old men's legs. So, Brad, why can't you be happy for people that have newer cars who get to enjoy this 5-year registration?
John, you're not going to believe this, but I've had my third interaction with Mike Kehoe. First off, when my car was broke down last Wednesday, and I was taking a video of the steam coming out of my engine on Highway 40. You said he contacted you and he drove by, but didn't help me. Then when on Friday, when my car rolled over me and almost killed me, it was Mike Kehoe that pulled up. And by the way, he was going to call an ambulance. And when he was on the phone with the ambulance, he said, "What brand of ambulance do you have?" And they said, "A wheeled coach." And he says, "You mean you don't have an Osage ambulance? Don't be
You gotta have an Osage, Brad.
And he got in his car and he left. Okay, here's the third one, okay? I just got this PSA, which was done by Mike Kehoe yesterday because he knew this vote was taking place. You ready for this? Hi.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
I'm Mike Kehoe. Yes, I used to own a car dealership, and I would not discriminate against people with older cars. That's why I'm in favor of this new legislation that states that you can register your car for only 5 years if it's a new car, if it's 6 years or newer. Now, what does that mean? Get rid of your old junk and buy a new car. Come to my car dealership. Even though I don't own it anymore, I still get a little kickback money on any cars that's sold. So please come to my car dealership, buy a new car so you can keep it for 5 years and not have to go to the DMV. This message has not been paid for by any consultant or any Mike Kehoe constituent. Isn't that a great PSA he did?
I love it. And the only person that would love it more than me is the subject of story number 1, who has a little bit to do with like cars and financing and things.
The number 1.
An anticipated story that we even acknowledged on the air yesterday, straight out of Rumorville last week. But it's a fact today, and it was a fact yesterday. And you can find coverage from both Jason Rosenbaum as well as Jake Croson of the Missouri Times. State Senator Travis Fitzwater will not seek re-election this year, 2026, to the state Senate. And instead, he has accepted a job to be the next executive director of the Missouri Technology Corporation. The organization announced it yesterday. The group is, first we'll see what Fitzwater says. It has been the honor of my life to serve in the legislature for nearly 12 years. I'm excited and humbled to serve as the next executive director of the Missouri Technology Corporation. Missouri is my home, and I know wholeheartedly that it is also home to incredible talent, groundbreaking research, and determined entrepreneurs. So Brad, I think you're familiar with them, and I brushed up on my knowledge of them this morning thanks to this news coverage. The MTC operates as a public-private partnership within the Missouri Department of Economic Development. So that's the facts of the case. Now let's get to something maybe a little bit more interesting. Your friend Mike Carter has been named as one of the top contenders for the Missouri Senate race. Now, last week, I believe it was early last week, you brought up the fact that you had heard this news. Also noted by both Rosenbaum and Jake Croson and Dave Drebus of the Missouri Scout newsletter, Missouri Cattlemen's Executive Vice President Mike Deering has been named to be a potential candidate. And one more candidate announced yesterday that he would not be seeking this seat. House Speaker Pro Tem Chad Perkins said he's not running for Senate. He says this summer he wants to spend time with his family and not go running around campaigning. And then Jake Croson in the Missouri Times also notes that Representatives Jim Schulte and Doyle Justice have also been speculated as a possible contenders as well. Now, Justice would be a conflict of interest because then you would have Justice and the judge, right? I mean, how could voters tell them apart? So, Brad, your friend Mike Carter just might make a bid for it now.
Well, he already announced this, John. I mean, he announced that he's leaving this was on his Facebook page. Like, I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. I know, you mentioned
that he said that he might be running, right?
Well, he said he's resigned, or I don't know if he has already resigned, but he's resigning from his judgeship as municipal judge in Wentzville. And he said right up front he was going to run for the Senate. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was actually in the article.
I believe when we discussed this, Brad, I'm sorry to split hairs here, but I believe that a listener corrected us and said that he said that if Travis Fitzwater did not run for re-election, which is what Mike anticipated, that Mike would be running. Mike did not, as far as I recall, Mike did not announce that he was launching a primary bid against Travis Fitzwater. But I could be corrected, Brad. I could stand corrected, Brad. John, and I know you won't fact check that. So over break, I can look that up.
John, I don't have to fact check it because you know why?
Why is that?
Because in my numerous trips to Jefferson City, because I'm not able to renew my license plates every 5 years, in my numerous trips to Jefferson City, last time I went and I decided, you know what, I got there sort of early, about 11 o'clock, got in and out. You know, I got 42 license plates. It took me 10 minutes to do 42 license plates, okay? I got in and out real quick, and I decided I'm going to go down to Madison's. And there, sitting in the corner booth, was Fitzwater and Carter. So I said to the lady, you know, the concierge lady, I said, can I sit at that booth right next to them? And I listened and I recorded it, and there was a deal. Okay, Mike, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to run again. So you might as well go ahead and quit your judgeship. And then Mike said, okay, Mr. Fitzwater, hey, would you come on my show on ABC? I have a real TV show. And he said, oh, I'd be happy to. I heard the whole thing, John.
That's amazing. I like the fact that Senator Fitzwater sounds like a knockoff Timu version of Vito Corleone. Maybe he can pull a Brando and stuff some cotton balls in his mouth while he talks.
And there was some talking about breaking knees or stuff like that, or breaking legs, but I didn't really get into that. Okay, so are we done with your top three? Are we actually on time this morning? I think
so, Brad. Hey, look, Mike just announced on here that, let's see, 19 hours ago, Mike Carter on his Facebook says, the move creates an open seat in Senate District 10. Our own Mike Carter is filing at 8 a.m. today, Brad. So really? What do you know?
Really? Who says that? Is that Mike Carter saying that?
Yeah, that's on Mike Carter's. I went to Boomer Facebook. It made me show my ID, and it said that it tried to give me a block because it said I was too young and I have a life.
Isn't it interesting? You can vote without an ID, but you can't go to Facebook without an ID.
That's absolutely
okay.
True. Brad, what are you gonna do? You gotta replace one of your top three stories that I so unceremoniously stole from you.
I'm gonna think real quick here over the next break. Okay.